Hey guys, it's Alex Dean, or Alex with Ataxia. I'm sitting here in my living room today to talk about a few things, ideas for getting out that I use in my own life, the daily appointments, therapies that I do, and even talking about some of the fine motor things that I do on a regular basis that I found really helpful and hope some of y'all might too. But I'm going to start today a little differently than I normally do by going into a story that I've actually written about in my book, Open Water. This experience provided a very important lesson for me growing up, and it's one I want to share. So, when I was younger, I played a whole lot of sports. I promise I didn't play them well. I wasn't super athletic, but I did play. So I was playing Little League Baseball when I say I was like 10. We're in our final game of the year. It's the bottom of the last inning. 2 outs, a guy on second base, we're down by 1. I'm up to bat. If this were a movie, we all know how this would go. I'd hit the home run, we win the game, you know all that. But that is absolutely not what happened. I get up there, I swing, miss, swing, miss, swing, miss. I strike out, game's over, we lost. I was obviously super upset as a little kid and hated letting everybody down. Looking back on it, it was really important to me for this reason. If I had just stood there, watched the balls come in for strike 1, 2, and 3, and just seen them fly by and not tried, that would have been awful. That memory would have hurt. But as years went by and I thought more about it, it became more and more important to me that at least I had swung. Obviously, I failed, didn't go the way I hoped it would, but at least I did everything I could to get the result we were going for. It didn't work out that time, but what I took away from that I hope I can accurately relay to all of you watching this would be to always swing no matter what. Always try to do the best you can, and whatever it might be. Maybe you won't accomplish whatever, but at least you can know that you always swing, and one of these days that's gonna mean you hit the ball out of the park. At the end of the day, always swing. Alright, so I want to real briefly touch on one more thing before I go on to my weekly appointments and medical goings on and such. It's really easy for me to get stuck in my own comfort bubble, so to speak, to just kind of hang around here, watch movies. As you see next to me, big movie guy. A lot of DVDs here. But I definitely don't want to just get stuck in that bubble. And I hope that you don't either. I hope you will get out there and do what you love, kind of like I talked about in the travel video. But part of FA and many other conditions is that I get sensory overload or overwhelmed decently quickly. It's another reason to practice getting out and hopefully mitigate somewhat that sensory overstimulation. In short, just go get out again, do what you love. Actually go out to eat, go see a movie, or do whatever. One of the other things I do with my roommate is going out on a walk, or we call it our walk and roll around the neighborhood, because why not? Just doing things to get out there and live life to the fullest. So now I'm going to go on to more of my weekly appointments, but I wanted to make sure I'd gone ahead and said that. So really quickly, to go through a list of my regular appointments, things that I go to on a weekly basis that I find really helpful for me, and I'm hoping that some of y'all could find this helpful as well. I do physical therapy multiple times a week, normally 2 or 3, and I have stretches that I do. I also go to a speech therapist once weekly to hopefully not only improve some of my speech ability, but also to work on not choking when I eat certain things or drink. There are other general doctors and specialists, a cardiologist, or my main specialist out in Philadelphia for FA. Most every FA patient that I've talked to does go out and see Dr. Lynch, David Lynch. I also should restart occupational therapy, to be honest. That's super helpful for different day-to-day tasks, as well as some of the fine motor stuff that I will go into next. But the final thing I should say, I think it's important to note that I do go see a psychologist or counselor each once every few weeks, just gonna clear things up mentally with fighting this rare disorder and trying to cope with adapting and changing things all the time. And I guess the point of saying that on camera is that I want to make sure to be clear that doing all these appointments, worrying about health, you have to include mental health in that conversation as well. So one of the comments on an earlier YouTube video in this series mentioned fine motor and talking about some of the things I do to help with the fine motor issues that come with this disorder and many, many more. That's a wonderful idea, and I'm gonna do that. The biggest part of that is occupational therapy, which I already talked a little about. One of the things that I use on a daily basis really helped me. So I'm gonna mention a few specific products. First, I do want to mention that using any sort of speech to text on the phones, but then I also used, like during the process of writing my book, a program called Dragon Dictation that let me just speak and dictate a lot of the book into my laptop as well. So there are plenty of speech to text options. Also, I already mentioned movies and watching things on TV. I do all of my TV stuff via internet TV and Apple TV to stream or watch whatever. But the reason that's important to mention in this section for sure is that the Apple TV remote, and I'm showing you right now, has been one of the easiest remotes for me to use. You look at other TV remotes that have so many tiny buttons and it can get very hard to select the right thing without pushing other buttons. This just has a menu, big button, microphone button so you can do some of that speech to text stuff, giant volume up and down, and the main press button is just a big touchpad at the top. Super easy to use, I think, so I hope that helps. The final thing I want to mention that I do, obviously for fun as well, is I play video games on my Xbox. I'm not a big video gamer, but I do some of this actually to work on my fine motor abilities. I've played a lot of simple Rocket League type stuff, or a very simple, straightforward card game that I'm playing right now called Balatro. So it's not a bunch of buttons and fast moving things with the remote, but doing a little bit of fine motor work to hopefully improve some of that. I've really enjoyed the Xbox controller. There are also adaptive modules that you can buy to use with the Xbox. That's great as well. Alright, so this will be my conclusion. For now, I had planned 8 initial videos, this being the 8th. So I had a few other ideas for my next grouping of videos. Definitely want to talk about my ankle foot orthotics, my AFOs. Also talk about different stretches and exercises, having already mentioned physical therapy earlier in this video. But I want to go into more of the things I do at home for that stuff, as well as hopefully involve a few actual experts in their various fields. So maybe including one or two of my physical therapists or speech therapists or whatever else works out. So I hope those can be great additions on the way. I do want to say thank you so much to all of you that have watched these videos and continue to like or subscribe to my channel. And I will see you back here probably in a few months.